You got the orange mic cap. That's pretty sick, Bedford. The rest of us just have the black cap.
This one matches my breath.
No, it's orange. You got orange. Were you sucking down orange Fantas this morning? What's going on? Oh, you ate an orange. No,
just means the color.
You're having some synesthesia over there.
That's the smell.
Are you smelling colors and seeing sounds and tripping?
Do you
on
believe
synesthesia?
that?
It's
I
a
don't believe
thing.
that crap.
It's not crap. It's science. I
They
mean,
were like, "Oh, I smell this." No, you don't. You're just making that crap up. Come on.
Sounds like French fries.
Yeah.
Oliver Sacks, right? Didn't Oliver Sacks, the neurologist, he put it in his books, right? One of his
I
books.
don't know.
The man who,
just a
the man who thought his,
psychosis.
That sounds like a name of a guy who you shouldn't trust.
So you think they're just saying that?
Yes, they're just like a little.
No, I think they
a
put him.
weird
In,
kind
I think
of
they put him in
disorder.
functional MRI, and it like fires the wrong sort of the brain. I don't know. I think it's a true thing.
What is it like?
Synesthesia.
It's like you're like, I smell music. Is
yeah,
that
synesthesia is when you have
like-
a sensory perception that crosses from one sense into the other.
you're like? Is that
You can't
is that
smell.
hip hop? Is that
Is that-
no? Oh no,
Oh.
no, that's jazz.
Oh, jazz.
No, okay,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, love
This
some good
jazz is giving me gas.
Oh my
you know, it can't. It can't be real, right?
Should we do a solution?
Oh, have we not already? Welcome to Solutions from the Multiverse, everybody.
I'm Adam Brous. This is Scott Maupin, and we're visited again today by Bedford Williamson.
Welcome, Bedford.
The
Good
only
morning,
person.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, universe.
Bedford Truman right now.
The only person to be on the podcast 3 times.
Well, I've been on it 3 times.
Well, okay, the only
Thanks a
person
lot for
besides the
diminishing me.
co-hosts. who have
Wow.
been on it.
Okay, I guess I don't count. Cool.
So
you
should
have
we do
a
a solution?
You have one for it?
Okay, we're gonna solve the opioid crisis.
Oh,
Oh.
great. I've been needing
I've
to.
got a solution.
This
I've been
is
wanting
sad.
to solve that.
It is very sad. It's very sad and very bad. But a solution would be good and happy if we could solve it. Okay. So my solution is protected bike lanes.
No, wait.
And
I think you're reading from the wrong. Hold on,
Protected
you're
bike
reading
lanes.
from the wrong thing there.
Protected bike lanes and public transportation is the solution to the opioid crisis. I will share some stats with you. The most common, so people get addicted to opioids because they get prescribed opioids.
Right.
Okay. So
And opioids
why are they getting
pill
prescribed?
heroin.
Why? Yeah. Okay. Yes. And so every year, 300 million Americans suffer from opioid use disorder, OUD. Okay. 500,000 people in America are addicted to heroin. 80% of all new heroin users are to replace opioids. All of those are prescribed. So the opioids are all prescribed to start with, right? Okay. Here's the issue. Cars are causing the opioid crisis. I'm
Cars.
convinced of this now. Yes. Well, not cars. I mean, if you drive your car perfectly, then you won't. But car accidents, which so far in our society we've made unable to eliminate, car accidents are causing basically a huge, like so much of the opioid crisis that it's a crisis. If you
Yeah.
eliminated,
Adam hates cars.
yeah, I hate cars, but this is why you should hate cars. So here, 43% of car crashes lead to injury, like a significant injury.
Right.
Okay. Most of those are injuries to the neck, back, and lower back. That's
Okay.
That's the main thing that gets hurt in a car
Makes
crash,
sense.
right?
The middle part of your body.
Yeah, you get like wrenched, right? You get bashed,
Uh-huh.
and then you get okay. So there's 5.2 million car accidents in America, which means if 43% of them lead to injury, significant serious injury, then that means 2.3 million injuries a year happen. And even low impact car accidents can commonly be the cause of back, neck, and headaches, especially too. Headaches, neck pain, back pain, and lower back pain.
Right.
These are all the most common prescription of opioids is for this type of pain.
Okay.
Okay, so there hasn't been a study. This is why it's on Solutions from the Multiverse and not, I don't know, the New York Times or something. There hasn't been a study that directly asked these questions. So there hasn't been a study that says of the back pain and head pain, how much of it comes from car accidents, and then of the people who have opioids from a back pain and car caused back pain, neck pain, how many of those people become opioid addicted? There hasn't been a study to show that.
This is a regression analysis.
That's what we need.
I don't know what that means.
This is a regression analysis algorithm.
We're
looking at
explain it to the me's in the world, though.
You're just looking
The
at
dum-dums, as Scott likes to say.
Okay. Wow.
Knocking you down this episode.
What's a regression analysis? Is that
because we're looking back
okay?
at the data.
Okay. Well, that was easier
Yeah,
than I
look
thought it
back,
would be.
yeah.
And you can do a simple one with just 2 planes up and down, this and this.
Yeah, X and Y.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just a line of best fit. That's what we called it in high school, a line of best fit. So you do a bunch of data points, and then you say, is there a line? Is there a correlation?
Gotcha.
So yeah, but there hasn't been. So the
You can see that
limitation.
for trends. You
Yeah,
might
you
use
can see
that
a
for
trend.
a trend, and you might be able to find you do that by the year too for the accidents, and you can see, oh, this part of the year had the most accidents that released. It correlates with the most opioid prescriptions, and then when that prescription runs out after the accident, you might be able to find the point from accident to heroin addiction.
Right.
Might be a gradient that your probability can discover through
Right.
this. And
You might even find that there's this whole section of where the Teslas just start crashing into each other over and over again.
But with that, you'll be able to pinpoint where you can focus your resources for help.
Yes.
Right, because you know
good
where the
call.
car accidents
Right.
are. If you know car accidents are a precursor, then
Yeah.
you could say where there's more car accidents. And that could be a test of this theory, too. You could say, let's look at what parts of the country or what places have more car accidents, see if then there's more.
Yeah, I call it
opioid
regression analysis, actually.
Oh.
I've been toying with this term.
Yeah.
But then you want to take that and do an ensemble modeling, right? And
Oh
then
my
you want
God.
to put
Uh-huh.
a couple of
course.
these algorithms together
Yeah,
and paint a better picture.
that's right. I did try to look up the data on what are the most common prescription causes for opioids. And it was back pain. Back pain is like the majority. It's like
Yeah.
a huge number. And then headaches and neck pain is like up there like crazy. And then leg pain, which also car accidents can cause leg pain because your legs are right there and can get smashed in. But the
that's
problem was that they didn't say what was the cause of the leg pain, back pain, neck pain, headaches. All we know right now, without someone actually going and doing this study, is car accidents are causing a huge amount of back pain, and back pain is the most common cause of opioid prescription. That's all we know.
So you're saying
So it's just like, there's overlap. We don't know exactly the overlap, though.
you're saying to address the opioid problem, where are you going with this?
So now, okay, so here's the thing. You can't just we overprescribe opioids in America for sure. And that was one of the
I
main
don't.
problems. Well,
Not me.
you got your license
Not
revoked.
me, man.
You
Well,
can't be a
sorry.
doctor anymore.
Well, that's why I'm a podcaster. It's the natural step.
But so we can't, if someone's in pain, it's not ethical to not give them some solution to their pain. Like, if you're lying in bed at night, and you just have this aching pain, like that's torture. I mean, you're literally, that's like torture.
You need something.
So you have to do something. Okay. So you can't really cut back too much on giving. I mean, you can cut back reasonably. I mean, we were overprescribing. So you can cut back. Okay. But you can't cut back more than what would actually solve people's pain. Otherwise, you're literally torturing people, and that's
Okay.
unethical. So I was like, well, that kind of puts us between a rock and a hard place, right? That's a dilemma. So I was like, well, what the hell is causing all the pain? And let's do a preventative thing. Let's get rid of all the causes of the pain that then
Right.
need the prescriptions.
Yeah.
So I said, what the hell are the causes? And I don't know, I got opioids, for my wisdom teeth. And I was like, is it wisdom teeth? I mean, is it surgery? Is surgery the main cause of opioids? Is broken bones, the kids falling out of trees or something? And it turns out the main cause I found is back pain, neck pain, and head pain and leg pain. That's the main cause. So then I started to think, what the hell causes that? Turns out it's the 5 million car accidents a year. That's what causes that. And so I said, well, shit, if we got rid of the car-centrism of our
Right.
society, we wouldn't just be getting rid of car-centrism. We'd be getting rid of the opioid crisis. And I thought, That's a damn good solution. That's a good solution for the miles first, because obviously very pro biking, very pro public transit, very anti.
So it would be
anti monoculture car. I'm not against cars. I'm just
banning
against
cars. What's
no.
No.
Just we
Just
don't
cars
want to
that
ban
cause
anything.
No banning accidents.
just-
ooh, that's good.
Well, if you could
Hold
yeah.
on, let's make accidents illegal.
I was planning on an accident later, though. I was planning on.
I
an
mean,
accident.
it's hard to go full force on this to me because you don't know what this means. Taking all these cars off the road, all these people on bikes. What does that create?
What do you mean? You already
Bike
know.
gangs.
You have
What
Bike
other-
gangs. I'm with you.
Have you
Bedford.
ever seen
Yes.
what's that at the end of the month
think
where all
it's
those
gonna get-
bikers run
Uh-huh,
around?
uh-huh.
What's that called?
critical
the
mass.
Critical
that
mass.
was last night.
Oh.
That
was last
is
night.
scary, right? You try to cross the street and watching all
Not
these bikes.
Scary.
Terrifying.
They're like a mob
You're
on
not
those
scared
bikes.
of cars.
You can see people's
If
faces.
a car hits you, you'd like die.
I think cars,
If a
people
bike
in
hits you,
cars
it
are
doesn't
more
matter.
respectful than bike riders because
Oh.
bike rider says, "I'm not going to do as much damage. Get out of my way."
I'm gonna like this. I have a
Yeah.
teammate now. We're
Great.
2 against 1 on you.
No,
Adam.
I agree. I don't like critical mass, and I don't like that attitude. I do not like that attitude.
Which
of
attitude?
bikers, like the kind of
Bicyclists are rough.
they can be jerks.
Yeah,
they can be jerks.
Bikers are got an attitude. When you
Yeah.
see someone in the car, you're like, they're not really going to get out their
No,
car.
but cars are really jerks. I mean, cars. Think about car people like curse each other out
yeah,
constantly.
but
honk
they
their
stay
horns,
in their car.
Yeah.
A
Well, a
biker
bike
will
doesn't.
touch you. Bikers,
Well, they'll
like
bang on your car.
Bikers
Yeah,
will
yeah.
touch your person.
Bikers.
They
you
won't
can
touch you personally.
you can
They'll touch
see
your
them-
you'll touch your car. They'll bang on your car if you like cut them off or whatever.
They'll hit your car. They'll kick your car.
Yeah, they'll kick your
They'll
car.
scream at you
They'll
too.
scream at you.
But
Yeah.
it- then
well, that's
if you-
because if you did something really,
That's because they
Dumb.
think they may get more hurt.
well, they
Yeah.
will.
A biker
I mean, they're
like
not
kicks
wrong,
your car, but
right?
then if you like bump their bike with your
Yeah.
car, then they get all mad about it, like you're
Yeah.
trying to run me over
Yeah.
or whatever.
And they don't want to follow the rules of the street.
Well, they follow them in a different way, but yeah.
Well, they go through stop signs and lights because they're like, "Hey, I'm on a
Yeah.
bike."
their face is forward so they can
Yeah, this
see.
This is a
Cars, you're back behind the hood of your car, so you can't actually see. You need to stop and like see. But a bike, you're forward, and so you can actually see around the corner.
This
All
is
I'm
a-
saying is
This
be
is a
cautious.
pro car, anti bike
Think
podcast, right?
about critical mass every day of the
Pro-car,
week.
Yeah,
Critical
Pro-car.
mass every day of the week in the city.
Right?
yeah.
Whoa,
Well,
that is
critical
scary.
mass. I don't like critical mass.
But
I think
that's what
critical
it
mass
is.
goes against what we should be doing as a bike culture. I really actually feel it's sad that critical mass is like that.
You want one long bike with like a bunch of seats on it.
Yeah, like a big tandem bicycle. Everybody's going.
If we had no cars, how many people are on bikes? Just as many, right?
But the trick is not, you can't jump. The problem is what you're doing is you're jumping to just like bikes. What I'm saying is put in bike infrastructure that disambiguates bikes from cars. And now you have fewer of what you're saying. You don't want interactions between bicyclists and cars.
But is that
so
really
build the
re-
infrastructure
realistic?
of course, it's realistic.
You have to have only bike-only streets then. You can't have the
No,
bike in the
no.
car.
No,
That's
you
where
can-
all the trouble starts.
No, but you
Bike
could-
and car shares.
But you can put the bikes together over on one side and a separator and then cars. And now you've disambiguated. That's called a protected bike lane.
A
right.
protected bike lane is too small for the amount of people. Let's just jump to, we have the infrastructure. It's all here. Is that realistic for no cars and all these people on bikes?
I mean, that's what most of the rest of the world does. I mean, what are you talking about?
rest
America's
of
a
the-
unique country in that it has like 80% car usage. Other countries have only like 40, 50% max car usage.
But they have less people.
No, the rest of the world has way more people than we do. America only has 300 million people. The rest of the world has 5.87 billion. You know,
I was in Thailand and there was people on the motorcycles.
motorcycles.
It was like critical mass with motorcycles. And crossing the street was scary.
crazy. Yeah.
That is, yeah. I've been in India too, and the people
Yeah.
on bikes and mopeds zipping in and out of lanes
Yeah.
doesn't make it seem. If it doesn't feel safer, but
yes.
that's where I'm
Yeah.
saying protected bike lanes, keeping separate for bicyclists.
Yeah. Well, there's no opioid crisis in these not car-centric cities. Like Copenhagen doesn't have an opioid crisis. And it's not because, I mean, sure, they don't prescribe opioids as much, but they also just don't have as much chronic pain. And the reason why is because they don't
wooden shoes.
They don't submit 1% of their population to car accidents every year.
Let's do it.
Well, I'm not saying it's not black or white. It's not like do it or not do it. It's just, should we install more bike infrastructure or should we not? Should we pay more for transit or should we not?
So
Should we
you're-
make transit free or should we not? I mean, these are just questions about what we should do in the very, very meantime. And if one of the things that goes into the calculation is, there's all sorts of pros and cons, but what I'm suggesting that's a new pro is we're going to reduce the opioid addiction because people are going to have less chronic pain because there will be fewer car accidents.
But
That's a huge deal.
what
That's
about
a
the
huge
people
deal.
who want to? You're not limiting cars, right?
No,
Or
there's no way limits
you're
cars.
just making more availability for
safe,
bikes.
Safe,
Is there a rebate?
safe bike infrastructure.
How do we get
I
there?
love the bike. I love the bike rebates. You get a bike, you get $200 in the city. That's
no,
great.
No,
We should
not
do
even that. You turn in your car and you cash it out for bikes.
Oh, that would be awesome
for your whole family.
Oh, I love that.
Now, what
Oh,
if
I
you
love
have to
that.
give up-
That's a great idea.
You
That's
give-
like a
It's
solution
like the
for
gun.
the.
You give away the guns.
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
the,
They'll buy back
Yeah.
the car and give you,
Bikes.
$500 or $2,000.
give you bikes
worth
for
of
your whole
bikes.
family because you're like, hey, I got a
Yeah.
family, we got a car.
That's a great idea. The point is to be preventative. This is a prophylactic episode, right? Solution. This is not like, oh, you have opioid addiction, now you don't have opioid addiction. No, it's like you have
You
it.
can't help those
You're
people.
fucked. You got
We're
chronic
done.
pain now. Your body's already been smashed into tin can.
You're like,
What
we're
gonna
about
do is
solutions, but not
smash.
for you.
Well, we're not. Well, I mean, we need to make them comfortable, and functional.
Well, you know
in
what makes them
society.
most comfortable?
Opioids.
More opioids.
I mean,
Yeah.
give
Well,
them
this-
opioids. The
this
big
is a-
problem
this
with
is a
opioids is that you
prequel.
can't get enough of them. That's the problem. If you
This-
give everybody their opioid every day, then they'll be fine. That's
The number one problem is you can't get enough of them, and number two problem is you get too much of it.
Well, if
That's
you
the-
overdose.
that's the
But
last
generally,
problem.
you're only going to overdose if like other problems in your life are bad. If you can be a high functioning drug user, if you get your drugs every day and you get clean drugs and you can use exactly the right amount, and then you have a good life, that you have.
What are you
know.
endorsing here?
I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm
What are you advocating?
I'm advocating for what's called a harm reduction policy with regards to drug usage. So rather than a criminal policy, a harm reduction policy. So a medicalized policy. If someone is chemically dependent on a chemical, then you should provide them that chemical in a clean, safe way. Duh, you
Sure.
know. But then if their life is total crap in other ways, no job, screwed up family, screwed up healthcare, screwed up everything. Yeah, then they're going to cope by taking too much of the drug and they'll overdose. But if they have a good life, they'll just do the drug every day because they're chemically dependent on it. And this is what Portugal just showed with they legalized all drugs and made it like a medical issue.
Right.
I know. I was happy when I went to Portugal. I was like, it'll be cool here because there's decriminalized.
Yeah.
What is that like on this?
I
like,
walked
on the
around. I saw someone run up to me and say, "Hey, man." I was like, whoa, what do you want? He was like, hey, nothing, man. I just got some cocaine. You want some? I was like, no, get out of here. He was like, hey, don't be upset. I was just offering you some cocaine. I was like, okay, dude, bye. But he was like, what's your problem? He was like, I'm being nice to you.
I'm just handing out drugs.
Yeah, he's like, hey, man, I'm just being nice. This is Portugal.
Yeah.
Regular morning cocaine merchant. Jeez, you don't have to.
My wife was like, you ain't have to be like that. I was like what? I was like, geez. I was like, he read up on me.
She's like, we didn't even get to see what his prices were.
Yeah, right. No, he's free. This is just angel dust.
yeah.
Angel dust Donnie. He's just handing it
He's
out.
nice.
This is how you. This is like in Hawaii. You're greeted with a lei. In Portugal,
He's like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
You're at the drugs
it's not
place.
illegal.
You're at
Yeah.
the drugs place. You're like, let me get this straight. The first one is free. They're like, yes, but you're like, should I be asking more questions? They're like, nah, just go ahead and take the real one.
But they don't have a problem there.
No, they don't. They're drug users. Although they did. I watched a whole thing on this. They said so. Oregon tried to decriminalize a lot of drugs, and then it kind of didn't work, and they had to rewind that and like criminalize a few back again. And the guy, this Portugal guy, who was one of these drug guys in Portugal, who put this policy into place, he explained like you have to have a lot of other things in place before the decriminalization. Like you have to have like free healthcare, and you have to have like free access to all kinds of counseling, and you have to have like a low crime state. Like you can't have a ton of poverty and a ton of social contagion and pathologies and then decriminalize drugs. It's like, no, it's going to become crazy. People are going to way abuse it. So just the idea of like, oh, decriminalization is a solution is like, no, eliminating poverty, giving people the basic services they need. If you have all of that in place, then you can decriminalize drugs. So it's like, it's like a late
But until then,
stage.
do harm prevention.
Until then, police drug usage but also do harm prevention for people whose lives are being damaged by it. Yeah.
I was editing a podcast for my work, and they were talking about this, about back pain specifically. And they were saying one of the interesting things is that in America, it happens more because of our, like, one of the odd results of our healthcare system where you can go and see a doctor very quickly, as opposed to somewhere like in Canada or England where you might have to wait a little bit, is that a lot of back pain they've found where it will just kind of go away on its own 3 or 4 weeks later and not have a real explanation.
Right.
Like doctors will be able to run an MRI and look at it and be like, well, we see things and we could operate. And people in America are feeling, if you're feeling the back pain, you're like, yes, operate or do whatever you can.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of unnecessary operations or prescribing of pain medications and stuff for things that if you just had to wait a little while and quote unquote tough it through a few weeks, it might resolve itself. I'm not saying that people who have actual serious back pain, I'm not trying to gaslight them into thinking that you should just tough it through. But he was saying like there's a large chunk of people where they think they would need something and then it kind of goes away. And I've had that with my body where like I'll have aches and pains and I'll book a PT appointment, a physical therapy appointment, and I'm like 5 weeks away. And by the time I get there, I'm like, well, I booked it for my knee, and it's not doing the thing anymore. But
it stopped squeaking.
Yeah, and you kind of feel embarrassed, but you're like, oh, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But I don't know if that's connected to. I mean, it's all connected in our healthcare system, and the failings of it are all connected to this whole like opioid crisis where it became a profit thing, and they're like, oh, this is very profitable. And you're like, oh yeah, giving drugs to people is very profitable. Turns out.
I mean, we definitely overprescribed, but we also did though. So here's the counterpoint, which doesn't get said much, but I think it is important. Before we had the opioid crisis, we had a pain crisis. I mean, people were just lying in bed in pain and weren't getting the help they needed. So the people who were prescribing a lot of opioids could argue back right at you and say, no, you're the bad one, ethically speaking, because you want to condemn people to lying in bed in pain all day long in this horrible chronic pain. So actually, we're the good ones. And the opioid crisis is sort of this other thing we need to deal with in some other way, not by giving out fewer opioids. So you can argue it both ways. But the real solution is to cut that argument off and just prevent the chronic pain from happening in the first place. And that's why we should get rid of cars.
Could that be? could that also be safer car standards, even higher?
If you could do
higher
that too.
car standards,
anything you could do to make
your
fewer
cars
car
don't
accidents.
get crushed.
Yeah, sure. But the problem is, even I said the stat there, even low speed, low impact accidents can cause very significant back and neck and head pain and leg pain, and it'll still lead to that. So like I agree with, sure, the cars should not be allowed to drive faster than 85 miles an hour. Like literally the car, you should just hit the gas all the way to the ground. It just shouldn't go above 85, because why do you ever need to go faster than 85 miles an hour? But even in a 30 mile an hour crunch, you can really screw your back and your neck and your legs, your head.
You can screw up your legs stepping down when you don't realize that there's a step. Like, you know what I mean? Like I did that yesterday. Yeah. I was walking off I didn't realize there was a curve.
Are you equivocating betwing that and a car accident?
No, I'm saying I can, what to me is severely injure myself just by walking with no speed or motors
but
involved.
It's not the same.
I'm thinking about.
You're saying
I'm saying that's
so much
sense.
worse.
Yeah. I'm like, I can injure myself just doing nothing. Put me in a car and motorize me.
Right.
No.
Okay.
And get crunched from all different directions.
Right.
You can get hit from the side. You can hit from the back.
Say you get these government rules on the cars reduction, right?
Yeah.
That's federal. And then you go to these cities.
I'm not saying to do anything like that. I'm not saying to restrict anything. I'm just saying build more bike infrastructure, make public transportation free. If you do that, the research already shows people don't want to be in their cars. They want to be on their bikes and taking nice,
I'm
clean,
saying people don't
fast.
want to be in their cars, but sometimes it's a necessity. So you have regional.
You're
in a cold area of Maine, Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Ride your bikes and die in the winter?
So I'm from Wisconsin, Madison, and Madison plows its bike lanes. And there are cyclists out 24/7, 365.
Now, is that safe?
Don't listen
It's
to
totally safe.
It's not
totally
safe.
safe.
There's a lake
safe.
in Madison where bikes
It's
fall in
completely
and
safe.
people die every year.
These are lies.
Terrible.
He's telling lies.
And then think about this: people living in rural areas, maybe there's less cars, but they still have the same percentage probably of accidents, and
maybe
they have to ride their bikes further and further. I have to get up at 5 a.m. to ride my bike to school. 2 hours.
Nobody's saying you have to ride a bicycle.
Son, get up
That's
and get on
nuts.
your bike.
That's
Adam
nuts.
says that you're not allowed to have a
No
car
one's saying that.
because you're going to
No
get
one's
addicted to
saying that.
drugs.
Yeah. Drugs are the reason why.
Adam says
you
have to ride
bike
your
in the
bike.
rain.
I'm saying
'cause
if it
you
is
are gonna do
mandated
drugs.
because it's
no,
true.
it can't be mandated. All you're trying to do is get rid of the meat of the move. You're trying to get rid of the main, the chunk, the big chunk.
I think also we live in a society where the sales pitch is you should be able to solve whatever's wrong. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to fix it.
Right.
And there should be a solution for it and the idea that like, no, you're just like this. People won't accept that.
Right.
I think there was a time when people would accept that. And they were just like, you're just like you limp now. And you're just like, all right, I limp now until my days are done.
Right.
And like now there are means to do things that we couldn't do before. I think that gives people hope, but also that gives people expectations.
Right.
Where they're like, I shouldn't have to put up with any amount of pain.
I should be able to eat my cake. I should have my cake, eat it too, and then take Ozempic and not be fat.
Yes, right. Like, what you're telling me the solution is eating right and exercising? Well, there has to be an easier one. That's the classic one.
Well, that's very hard to maintain.
Yeah, of
with,
course.
Life happening, work.
Of course.
Demands on your personal time.
Last time I went to Vegas, I hung out with Tony Hsieh, who died recently.
Whoa.
Tony Hsieh, he was a billionaire.
Who is Tony Hsieh?
He made Zappos and he sold it to Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a billionaire. And then he did this thing in Vegas called the Downtown Project, where he invested $350 million in improving downtown, like building more housing, building more transit, bike transit more. They built like a shopping mall, more grocery stores, because like the downtown of Vegas was like a total food desert. Like it was just horrible.
Right.
So they're basically trying to like build like an urban context in downtown Vegas. And I went there and I was we were kind of invited, like some people that I knew were kind of invited there, and I went along with them because we're all entrepreneurs and they wanted us to come and move there to like do our entrepreneurship there.
Nice.
And we were like, we're not going to move to Vegas. But it was really fun because they kind of wined and dined us, and like Tony Hsieh came to dinner with us. And
that was a mysterious passing.
It was wild. Yeah. Candles.
Oh.
He had a shed full of candles, and then the candle shed burned down.
Wait, that's how he died?
That's how he died. He was doing a lot of drugs, and he was like a lot of dissociative drugs.
Uh-huh.
He kind of lost his mind. He got really obsessed with fire. And so he had this shed where he put like thousands of candles, and he would like sit in there and like commune with fire, and then burned down, died.
Some say it could have been.
That's a wild way for a billionaire.
What could it have been?
Murder.
Oh. By candle?
There's a conspiracy out there.
I bet.
I mean
when a billionaire dies. Yeah. And this is a healthy billionaire. I mean, this guy's like 40 years old. I mean, he was a young billionaire. Yeah.
Yeah. His heirs were like, I don't know, Tony. I think you should get more into the fire stuff. Like, I mean,
that's a good move. Get
I actually
in there.
think there was something like he just changed his will or something.
Whoa.
Hey, maybe I'm just adding.
We need Hercule Poirot to come and solve this.
His sons are like, if you consider like 1,000 candles in a shed,
thousands
what would
of
that? How cool would
Well,
that
they're
be?
promoting that right
Yeah.
now. You can go to a symphony.
I've seen that. Yeah,
and
the
I'm scared.
the candlelit piano concerts. Have you seen
It looks
that?
beautiful.
In San Francisco?
No.
One trip.
Yeah, it's like thousands of candles around like a pianist or violin concerto or whatever, and then in the middle they play, and then you like, I don't know, it's this candle thing. Fire.
Yeah, you don't want me setting up that stage. That's the worst. That's the second worst job for me.
Yeah.
The first worst would be trying to set up one of those large domino demonstrations.
Oh, yeah.
Because where it takes like hours and days, and me halfway through, I'd be like, "Achoo," like, and they're like, "Stop! No."
That's right.
I'm a fire survivor.
Really?
What?
Your house caught
Fire
on fire?
Island? Did you go
My
to
house
the Fire Fest?
Burned down. We lost everything.
Oh,
And I was in the
no.
fire. I was moments away from death.
What?
Could
What?
have died.
How'd you get out? What was
I
the?
broke out a window and climbed out the third floor.
What age was it? When was this?
Wait a second. How'd you get down from the third floor? That's a dangerous height.
Basically, I blacked out. I jumped or something.
Did anyone catch you? Or you just landed
No,
on the
I was
ground.
just laying there on the ground.
What
And,
age are you when this
someone
happens?
walked by and took their jacket off and put it over me. And just over like my charcoaled body.
What?
But your family all survived.
It was just me and
That's good. No one died.
and
Did other people die?
no one died.
Oh,
Wait, when
But-
you were
God,
like when
thank
you were a
God.
kid, or what?
No, it was in my adult life.
What?
Wow.
Whoa.
I lost everything.
Did
I
you
was
have fire
homeless.
insurance? Oh, you had homeless.
I didn't.
Oh my God.
I didn't have fire insurance. Now I do.
That was good.
But I saw it was sad watching my neighbors lose all of their things too.
Yeah.
Right.
Holy cow!
And the whole place was on fire. It was crazy. Banging on doors. It was like
Wow.
backdraft. It was very.
The fire was banging on doors, like the movement
Actually,
of air
the
pressure.
I don't talk about it too often, but the last time I had to talk about it, I had jury duty,
Oh,
Whoa.
and it was an arson case.
whoa!
And while they were interviewing me, they started asking me questions, and I was like, I have to disclose that I am,
Fire
a fire
survivor.
survivor. And
They were like,
I
"Get
was
the
like, I
hell
may
outta
have
here."
some bias, and the other person wanted me,
Yeah.
the other.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
The
Sure.
prosecutor
So they-
was like, "Yeah, let's."
They
get
start
this
probing me about it, and then I just bawled out and start crying.
guy. Oh yeah, that must have
Wow.
been
In
really
front of all the
traumatizing, yeah.
juries. It was embarrassing.
No,
but
it's
I
not
couldn't. I
embarrassing.
didn't.
It's
I
sweet.
couldn't control it.
Wow,
It's sweet.
dude.
It shows you're a human.
And then I was like, "Hey, I can't do this." They're like, "Will you promise not to do this again during trial?"
And
I
you're
was like, "Oh my goodness!"
like
I was like,
You're like, I planned this
I need
one.
to take a moment,
Yeah.
yeah. Whoa.
And then,
Well, we don't have to talk about it.
I got kicked off the case. I was like so happy.
Oh, they didn't like.
Yeah.
Okay.
All those acting classes paid off. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Teach me how to burst into tears so
That's
I can
wild.
get out of jury duty. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
So,
I was going to say on the opioid thing, I do jujitsu, and so I
Mm.
encounter a lot of guys who get back injuries or neck injuries, and then
From
start,
jujitsu.
or yeah, from just
Or they-
fighting stuff,
oh,
and
yeah.
then start taking pain meds, and then get hooked on them. And
Right,
so
right,
I've
right.
always for a very long time I've been scared of pain meds because I'm just like,
Mhm.
no. If I have a thing going on, I want to know that it's there. I'll feel the pain. I am deathly afraid of getting hooked because I think I have an addictive personality.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, I would probably
Love this. Yeah.
dive
Too much
right. Yeah, I would be way too into it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to keep that out of my.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can feel that that's got to be a huge challenge for people. And then dealing with that, I don't
It's
know,
horrible.
know where I'm going
Yeah.
with it, but it's just like, yeah, that's a monster of a thing to try and
Oh,
deal
yeah,
with.
yeah.
And if,
Monkey on your back. Yeah. I mean, these things are
yeah,
real chemical
seems
addiction.
hard to
This
sell-
isn't like, oh, I like getting high or like, oh, I like,
no.
this is like
Now I have
serious
to. Now I have to
chemical-
feel. I have
serious
to use
chemical
this to feel
dependence.
normal.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah. But like it does feel hard to sell the idea of like we're going to attack that by making bike lanes. But if
Yeah,
you could
that's
draw
what this
the,
episode's
if you
all
could
about.
connect those dots for people,
Right.
I think you could definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you keep we've been talking about protected bike lanes before, and if you keep stacking
Panacea
the
of all social
reasons
ills.
of like
All social ills.
all we need to do is protect a couple
Protected
bike lanes.
all social ills will be
War
solved.
will end.
Yeah, no war.
World peace.
Climate change is over.
Done.
Everything perfect.
Yes.
Bike
Well,
lanes.
to circle back to
I
the
agree with
data,
that.
you got to look at the data, and that's where
Yeah.
you can find the
Yeah.
areas or
Oh,
the
you can
times
find
where
it.
you can help the most.
Right.
Because
Right,
you can
right,
only help
right.
so much, and you got to get your penetration to
Right.
when people are most susceptible, or right before
Right.
that predictive time for.
Yeah, kind of high leverage. What are those?
You might
high
have to
leverage points?
campaign like they do, like the new car sales at the beginning of the year. Like, hey, we got the brand new next year car
Yeah,
coming
right,
out.
right.
That might be the time to tackle this. Like, hey,
You could also just take you could also find some natural experiments. Like for example, Davis, California is like it's like a crazy bike city. It's like tons of bike lanes and stuff. So you could then say, what's the opioid level here of addiction? Also, where did those opioid people come from? Did they emerge in Davis or did they migrate into Davis? They biked in. They actually rode on hot air balloons. Very strange phenomenon. But the opioid hot air balloon economy is pretty
I think it always goes back to education. So you got to get them in high school bike clubs. Everyone in
Fight
high
clubs?
school bike
clubs.
Everyone has to take
Don't talk about bike club.
Bike fight club.
Everyone has to bike. I remember in high school you had to pass a swimming test. You had to run 3 miles to pass PE.
Yeah.
What? You had a harsh high school.
You had to pass those. You had to take a swimming test.
I'll throw in something about cars and stuff. Okay, so here's something.
Okay.
Where do you you guys are going to know the answer already. So we have to wear bike helmets. You're supposed to wear a bike helmet because like you could hurt your head while you're biking, right?
Right.
Okay. Most head trauma actually happens in cars. So actually, you should wear helmets when you're in your car.
When you're driving.
Everyone in cars should by law be required to wear a helmet. Because that's actually where the most head trauma happens.
Because they smash their heads on. What do you smash your head on inside? I guess anything.
The inside of the car. Yeah. Or the head, or you hit your head on the dash. So actually,
I see
cars should wear helmets.
I see your other plan. You're trying to make it so uncool to be in a car.
Well, this is why
people just stop driving.
This is why no
one wants to pile into their car and put on their helmet.
So helmet. This is like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. It's well documented. Car companies and car people supported bike helmets as a thing because they were trying to victim blame the bicyclists. When the car would mow them down and kill them and their head would splatter like a watermelon, they'd say, that's the bicyclist's fault because they don't wear helmets. And then they created all this, like, you have to wear a bike helmet. In Holland and in Denmark, where they have strong bikes, the bike culture, nobody wears helmets. There's no helmets because bikes are not dangerous if you're not going to be hit by a car, So, yeah. So actually, bike helmets are like a psyop against bicyclists.
Fall off a bike and hurt your head?
Chances are done.
Way
more dangerous that you're in a car, you get in a car accident, and you hit your head. That's actually way more common.
Okay.
And so actually, you should wear car helmets. So I'm starting a new car helmet company.
Solutions.
Car helmet.
Car helmet.
Yeah.
Hey, these are stylish. They're inflatable. Inflate on impact.
Yeah, you can deflate them again later. Yeah.
It would be easier. They come with the car.
Yeah,
when you buy a car, they come with two standards, driver's side, passenger
helmets, Mercedes helmets.
Build them into the roof of the car. They just come down onto your head.
That would hurt your neck.
Yeah, right that way.
You need to have free movement of your head. But they already have these helmets for their bike programs. Yeah. Their motorcycle programs, they have helmets.
And while you're doing helmets in the car, do VR helmets.
Yeah, heads-up display.
You're driving on a regular road. No. Now you're driving an Mario Rainbow Road. Exactly.
We went to the same place.
Change your AR glasses to you're in regular world, but it looks cool.
Yeah,
you're not going to get people to wear a helmet for safety.
Isn't that just called mushrooms?
But you're still safe to drive.
That's right.
See, Adam, you're not going to get people to wear a helmet for safety.
Stars coming out of people's exhaust while you're driving across the Bay Bridge. Even on bikes. You're
just describing LSD. People in the 60s did this.
AR making the world look better. Just making people smile. You're looking at people like, get out of my way.
And they're like
smiling at you.
Faces. You're living in a delusional wonderland.
Wow, I like that. There's money
Every
to
car
be made
needs
there.
4 Apple Vision Pros.
God damn it. I want just the medieval AR. Everywhere I go, everyone's in like chainmail. Everything's like torches instead of lights. Nice. It's torches.
They're all looking at you going, what is this car you are driving?
Yeah.
What is this metal horse?
And whenever you look at a car and it turns into like a carriage, everything's horses and carriages and stuff.
It's safe still. It's the same proportion. You still see the same people.
Right.
This is the simplest solution.
You could do a steampunk AR. Everywhere you look, it's all just steampunk. You look in the sky, you just see airships. You look around.
No, everywhere. you do Flintstones AR, and you see like underneath everybody's car, you see their feet like running.
Wow, this AR could have stop signs that are like more pronounced.
Yep.
When you're going through
real big 10-foot tall stop signs.
Yeah, it could be actually add more safety to the road. You could see the bike lane with your AR glasses. They're like, hey, this is the safety bike lane. Watch out. Nice green barrier.
Now I'm in. I wasn't in until
As long as there's protected bike lanes and fewer car accidents.
Yeah.
until
And
we
that
had
means-
VR
which means
helmets.
there would be fewer opioid.
Your
addicts.
opiates glow in your hand.
Ooh, rainbow of Vicodin. Yeah. Well, this was fun, guys.
I think we did it.
We did another one.
Well, thank you, Bedford, for being here again, and thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
See you
Thanks,
again next
everybody.
week.
Bye. Cheers.